today is Anna Caramujo. You know her better as Savvy Cat. And I'm really keen to find out what she thought of Monday's debacle here in Portugal, which I'm calling Dark Monday. I wonder what sort of day she had. I think she was probably in Porto on Monday. Let's find out. Nice big round of applause.
Good
Anna.
morning.
Bem.
Bom dia. Yeah, it was chaos on Monday. It was like things were all over the place.
Right.
I've never had a national blackout in my whole lifetime. I think most people haven't, right? So
True.
it was just
Absolutely.
such a completely mind-blowing thing. Honestly, I was doing my nails. Okay.
Oh, right. Yes, you were attending to the important things in life, and then you plunged into an outage.
In my defense, 4 of my nails had broken, so I really had to do my nails.
It sounds like an emergency.
Yes.
The first of the day. Right.
And because I do nails with gel and acrylic, it has to go to the lamp. So when the blackout happened at like 11:30, I had painted 2 nails, and the rest of them were like just acrylic. And then we're like, okay, we'll just wait a bit, maybe it come back. And then we started talking to other people, and we started realizing maybe this is not just this neighborhood. And then I asked on the chat on my company, like, is anyone else not having light? And everyone is like, yeah, there's no light all over the country. And I'm like,
What?
the hell?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you weren't the only one. And you were in Porto, were you?
Yes, I was in Porto, and then the Algarve agent, the Caldas do Rio agent, the Lisbon agent, the North agent, and the 2 people that I have that work in more remote locations. They didn't even get internet because I still had. It was funny because I have a dual SIM card, so I have NOS and Meo cards. And when the blackout first happened, I could make calls and had internet on my NOS card. But like around 2:30 p.m., my NOS card went completely dark, zero network. And I was managed to still to have network on the Meo card. So yes. I had internet the whole day. But there is like I said, my agents that live in more remote locations, they were completely dark. They didn't even have internet.
Crazy, right? And as you say, unprecedented situation. Nobody in their lifetime here has experienced such a thing. Of course, we get the occasional outage and power cut locally. There are disruptions to supply occasionally, but on a whole country basis, that was pretty serious. I mean, to me, unacceptable. It was a disgrace.
Yeah, I was like, because at the first week, no, of course people start speculating, and I don't know about if you saw that fake CNN Brussels article that was circulating.
Was it fake news from CNN, or was it made to look like it was CNN?
It was made to look like it was a CNN article.
Okay. Right.
But it was circulating on WhatsApp, I think. But the thing is, when we started talking about it, my Lisbon agent shared it with us, and she didn't really, because apparently the person who sent it to her said, okay, this may not be real because it looks a little shady. Whoops. But she didn't tell us to us. She just forwarded it to us.
Yes. At this stage of mass and quick communication, yes. Here's the reason.
The article was like, there's been a cyber attack that has sponsored by Russia, and the Kremlin is denying involvement, but all European countries have out, and the banks have been attacked, and there's 15 European countries without light, and we don't know how long the light will be out, and we are praying, and blah blah blah. It was a bit of a doomsday article.
Absolutely. And what did you make of that? Where did your mind go seeing that?
When I saw it first, I was like, okay. Honestly, it sounded plausible enough. I'm putting it a bit more doomsday in it, but it was actually pretty well written.
Yeah.
And I would like, with the current political situation in the world, I actually thought it would make a lot of sense. Because Europe is considered the safest place in the world. And doing something like this would very much send a message of you are not that safe.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we will come back to that because that is a very important consideration, and you're in the business of helping people move to Portugal, and that will be on their minds presumably, and that you'll have been responding to that big question. What's the best or the most plausible theory you've heard so far about the cause of it? Because I don't think we're ever going to find out. Okay, so
how this called, the electricity company people supposedly came up and explained that there was something that happened in one of the main power lines in France, and that it overloaded and went down, and then it sent a chain reaction down the lines.
yeah.
And they are also saying that apparently a heron contributed to the situation. I'm still not sure how.
No, a heron bird what flew onto
Yes,
a cable.
I don't know if
I'm gonna-
because they tend to have a lot of nests on the power lines, and I don't know. I don't remember how that was related, but apparently the things that caused this whole thing was that situation in France, and then a heron. But I'm still like, shouldn't there be safety measures to prevent a chain reaction of this level? We are talking about 3 countries that got out of light.
Right. Yeah, and parts of other countries that was also reported, wasn't it? Switzerland, possibly Italy, Germany, as well as parts of France and all of Spain and Portugal. So, okay, I don't think, as I say, I don't think we'll ever find out. And we hope, don't we, that it was some sort of power supply issue between Spain and Portugal, that when it happened, it caused that catastrophic effect inside Portugal, and nothing more sinister is to blame. I will be speaking to Michael Heron, who is in Spain, in Madrid, about this later on today, and hoping to blame him for much of it. Yeah, so presumably people have been asking, what's going on over there? How do you respond to that?
Well, yeah, because at first it was like when the people started saying it would last 3 days. So you start thinking, okay, like, what do I need for 3 days? Actually, I'm very lucky because, for example, my brother, we always have a ton of water bottles in the house. We had like 15 water gallons in the house or something.
Good.
So we wouldn't be running out of water. So and because I was doing my nails, the lady that was with me when we started talking, she really started panicking, and she had kids, and she was like, oh, I need to get my kids, but now I can't go home because I don't because the metro stopped. And I was like, okay, I'll take you. So I ended up taking her to Gaia, and she had her car in actually in a Lidl parked. So I went to that Lidl in order to buy some fruit and so on. So fresh stuff. We had a ton of canned food and so on, but I figured it would be a good idea to have some fruit and some fresh food that doesn't perish as easily.
Yeah.
And then I came home, and the Lidl was chaos. I had never seen such a big line, and there was people filling their trunks with water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
well, that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, how was the atmosphere in Porto generally? It sounds like you drove across the city. What was that like?
There was some traffic, but it actually wasn't too bad. I thought it would be a lot worse since the lights were all off, the traffic lights.
Yes.
Things actually were working pretty well. I kind of feel like there was less traffic in the city than usual.
Another one of the big surprises that came. Like, traffic management systems make it worse.
There was some traffic in the VCE, but it wasn't too horrible. I was kind of lucky because when I was going to Gaia, the side I was going was fine, but it was super traffic on the other side, the side coming into Porto. But then when I came back to Porto, it wasn't too bad. So it was...
What's VCE, Anna?
It's the Via de Circulação Interna. It's basically the highway that goes around.
Oh, your ring road in Porto. Okay, so Porto people. I mean, there's always this rivalry, isn't there, between Lisbon and Porto?
I think in Lisbon, traffic got a lot more chaotic.
Yeah. Okay. So Porto people were a little calmer.
Well, at least they worked better without the traffic lights, I guess.
Well done, Porto people.
But I never
Yeah.
had seen so many people on the street. I mean, if this was a organized thing, it could actually be very interesting, because when I got back to my neighborhood and I realized I didn't have water, piped water at all, because I live on the fifth floor. So you need the pump to bring it up here. So
Yes.
no water.
Wow.
And that probably happened to all the buildings here. And
Yeah,
there was
right.
a bunch of people in the street just talking, and people talking through the balconies, and online, because there is this little water fountain on this corner of my building, and there was a line of people getting water from that corner, and all talking like what's happening. And I never seen this neighbor as social. I never seen this neighborhood as social, to be honest.
It's
It was
amazing, isn't it?
interesting to see it in that way. Yeah.
A lovely upside. And one of my theories of how the Portuguese responded, generally speaking, was the word got round that ice cream would be melting and beer would be warming up. So we all better get to the cafe, the park, and the beach to help out so that things aren't going to get wasted.
Yeah, there
And
was
that's
so many people in the parks and in the beaches, and just socializing. I knew some people that were like, "Who has a pool? I have beer," kind of thing.
Isn't that great? Fantastic. Well done, the Portuguese. The Tuga response to what went
Yeah.
on Monday. Now, globally, and as I say, you're helping people move to Portugal. And fortunately, for the American mindset, a day or two, maybe more without power is not beyond a lot of American people who are in Texas, Florida, California. They're used to dealing with emergency situations and they prepare for it. So they weren't as shocked as some people, I think, even in Portugal, who aren't used to such a sudden and widespread outage. UK people aren't used to this sort of thing, and I think a lot of Europeans generally aren't, unless they live in a
We are not
wildfire
used
area.
to it at all. I mean, the only power outages I've been in, they tend to be like half an hour, not much more than that.
Yeah, right.
And in the village, we had some, but it also was like a few hours at most.
Yes.
I've never seen something this widespread and this long.
Yeah. So and I think a lot of our North American friends were not as shocked as we imagined they might be because they have some sort of experience
But that's one of the things, because America, that is supposedly in the top of the technological development.
yes.
Well, it's a huge country, to be fair.
Yeah,
Portugal is quite small. Probably the whole Iberian Peninsula is like the size of Texas or something.
yeah,
So,
right. Yeah.
but yeah, we are used to always having things working, and it's very unusually to run out of light for this long. I don't think anyone was really, really prepared. Some people were like kind of had some provisions, but I don't think people were prepared at all.
No. So maybe they will be should it happen again. And people are saying if it happens once, it can always happen again. Can you decode for us the Portuguese cultural response and what politicians are saying? Interestingly, in 16 days' time, they go to the election booths again.
Yeah.
To the ballot box. So that will have had an effect on how the politicians responded. How have Portuguese people been generally, the kind of the rumble and the grumble from the society? And how do you think politicians have responded? And what are you looking for from them?
I think, like you said, there was a bit of an interesting Portuguese response. That was the whole thing. Like, we will probably be okay. I think most people weren't really panicking. Everyone
Yes.
was like, it's probably going to be okay. We figure something out. But yeah, when because the power got back here in Portugal at around 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And the first thing my brother did was turn on the TV to see if the news started. It only started like a half an hour later. It took a while for the Wi-Fi to get back on.
Yes.
And yeah, we were just looking like to get answers, because it was just such a weird situation. And strangely, the person that we actually found giving the more useful information was the Shiga leader that was giving an interview on the one of the channels.
Hold on a minute.
And
So Andre Ventura came up with
yeah,
the best response.
yes, and he was actually making some really good points. And as you know, I'm not actually a big fan of his, but I think he handled things pretty well.
Amazing.
And one of the things he criticized was the lack of response on the national services. Like when you have, you know, the big storms and so on, you get this message about the yellow warnings and so on.
Yeah.
We didn't get any of those messages.
No,
I don't know if you did.
got
So he was
I
criticizing
don't think anyone got a
that
text. Yeah.
there should be a national response, just, you know, trying to explain the situation, and I agree with that. I do think that the thing that I was worried about and that he mentioned too was, you know, the hospitals and so on. I mean, that must have been chaotic.
Right.
I know they have generators, but I know that some of them had to rely on the military to get more gasoline for the generators because they were running out. And
Right.
that's one of the big things. I think lots of like the places, the gasoline, how do you call it, where you put gasoline and diesel? The
Oh, in the tanks, or the storage facilities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the well, not
the
storage, but
depots.
yes, where you go to the
Or the
pumps.
gas stations. Yeah.
The gas stations, yeah,
Yeah.
the gas stations, a lot of them, you know, ran out of gas because, you know, generators tend to run on gasoline and so on.
Yeah.
And apparently there were big lines. I didn't want go to have. Thankfully, I had enough on my car, and I didn't plan to go too far. So, but I've people told me that there was huge line on the gas stations, and I guess that was because of that. But I would say that the big majority of the country and the businesses are not prepared for this at all. Only places that need to have emergency responses, like, you know, like big supermarkets that are essential services, and the hospitals and those kinds of places had backup generators. But mostly everything just stopped. I mean, we couldn't
Yes.
work, we didn't have internet, and it was the whole chaos because it was holiday on Friday, the 25th of April, and
Yes.
the weekend, and then Monday, power went out, so we couldn't get to emails. And the actually my Katia, my administrator, was on vacation, so Edgar was taking care of things. And Edgar lives in a relatively remote location, so he was completely out of internet. So there was 4 whole days where we didn't get to the inbox because, you know,
Crazy.
holiday plus power outage.
Yep. And which goes against all that we're used to, right? We are so dependent, aren't we, on these systems that were completely absent, and we had no idea how long that would last for. And there were mixed feelings, I think, by about 9:30, 10 in the evening. When the lights started coming back on, people were cheering around the country, but also
Yes,
people were
before
feeling a
I
bit
got
sad as
light,
well,
I
weren't they?
heard all the neighborhood screaming.
Yes, yeah, but also like it was like yay, and then oh, we were enjoying that. Very, very
Yeah, it
interesting.
was
Very
funny.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, it was
But when
bizarre.
I got back here, it was already night. I actually already had turned on some candles and had this lamp that I have. So it was pretty convenient. And actually, I only got water back to the apartment like on the end of Tuesday. Like in the morning, Tuesday morning, I did manage to take a bath, but it was just like a really, really small amount of water, no water pressure at all. It only
Wow.
got back to normal by the end of the day.
This is what people didn't. There were two major sort of shortfalls, I think. One was the usefulness of cash. A lot of people went to their wallets and purses to find cash, only having a few coins because we've become so used to using electronic systems and phones and so on. The ATMs were out. So having some cash is a good takeaway from the situation. And yes, you're thinking, okay, well, electricity doesn't affect water, but yes, of course, when water needs pumping, it affects the water, and that's what happened to quite a few people. And that was after the event as much as it was before, wasn't it? I went to a
Yeah.
cafe on the Tuesday morning, and they said, "Oh, we can't do coffee." because we haven't got any water in our machine, which is, so the electricity was back, but the water was lagging behind that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your analysis. Thank you for the situation from Porto. You are, of course, from Savvy Cat Realty. This is your website, and I'll put the link to it. And yeah, I mean, going from that situation into how this is affecting business, how it affects people's view of Portugal. As we said, our Northern American friends aren't worried so much about an emergency outage from time to time. Have you had to do any damage limitation? Have you had to explain the situation to people from other countries?
We made a publication explaining the situation, but I don't think most people are too worried. I mean, it was just a day.
Yeah.
And even like I was worried if it was longer, but because it was just 10 hours, we didn't even lose any frozen food or anything. I mean, if the freezer were to unfreeze, it would have been a pain because we have a lot of stuff in the freezer.
Yes, absolutely. Okay,
But,
so could have been
but
a lot
yeah, I
worse.
think it didn't generate a lot of panic. I'm definitely a bit concerned about the response where they were like, this may happen again. And I'm like, this is not supposed to happen again.
No.
I mean, I actually think it would be pretty fun if this was an organized thing and like once per quarter or twice per year there was a blackout day and people were just forced to do things old school and talk to each other, because I
Yes.
think that happened a bit. People became a lot more social. It's funny because you got taken off from screens and so on, and suddenly you talk a lot more to people. It's a funny take to take from it too. But yeah, it needs to be organized because it was just chaos.
Yeah, well, certainly we're looking for a strong governmental response, and I think we can say, as it turned out, in the face of a disaster of that kind, well, not that's overplaying it. Potentially a disastrous situation. The Portuguese people responded brilliantly, generally speaking, to what happened. What's hot and new at savvycatrealty.com? What sort of services are you being asked to provide? What sort of areas are showing promise and interest at the moment? What's
We
hot
have
over there?
Porto is the place with the most demand right now, which is interesting. Back when I started a company 4 years ago, Caldas and the Silver Coast area was the highest demand area.
Yeah.
But now everyone kind of wants Porto in the north.
Is that right?
And things are a bit quieter in the other locations, but we've been having quite a bit of demand for rentals. I think there's a lot more people that are coming and trying to do things in a less committal way so they don't go straight away and try to buy and want to try out things for a while and rent, which is perfectly valid. And we do have the services to provide for that. But yes, I would say definitely an increase in the rental demand. And yeah, we have here our Plan Your Move to Portugal workbook that works either for rentals or for purchase. It's just to help you manage the situation and understand your own preferences and make a plan around things, which I think is quite important, because one of the things I've been noticing lately, especially after this whole US election chaos, is that there is a lot of people that are coming in a more panicked state that they just want to get out as soon as possible. And they don't really know what they want and are a bit lost on how to do things. And our guide, I think, can be very helpful for that and for, helping figure things out, both of what's better for you and what are the actual priorities for the person, because I think that's something extremely important, to have what you truly considered essential in your life, and that is very different from people to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you, what your general response is to people who are panicking, and we understand why. There is definitely a spike in interest based on the turbulence in the US at the moment. When people are in that panic state, what do you tend to say to them? Take a few breaths, work your way through the workbook in a sort of calm
We
way.
generally try to help them figure things out, but there is the thing is, in that situation, what often happens is that people want to look at everything and often confuse themselves because they don't have their own basics set down. And yes, we try to work with them and get them through the steps to understand what's truly important to them so we can focus on that.
Yeah.
But yes, it ends up having to be a bit of a more step-by-step approach in a because people and it's ironic, right? Because they are in a hurry and they want to do things as fast as possible, but at the same time they really need to take a step back in order to organize and be able to get the best result possible. So it's a
Okay.
bit like that. But we've had all kinds of situations. We recently helped a lady that was literally running because of an abuse situation. And we she was really panicking, and we had to help her, even contacting the embassy and so on, which is not something we normally do at all,
Yeah, right.
because the embassy really needs to be contacted by the person, and the documents have to be by the person. The only thing we can do is kind of act as intermediary, passing the information from the one side to the other. We cannot really do anything more than that, but we always try to help as much as we can.
Amazing. Okay, so there for people in all sorts of ways and some unexpected ways there as well. Before we finish today, Anna, perhaps you could take people through the process that if they consult with you, how does your process look with people?
Well, it depends. It's very different if they are buying or renting. For the rental process, it's of course a much easier path, and also a shorter path. Usually, for getting a rental, the process takes between a month and a half and 3 months, depending on how specific things are, and if people are also getting an IF in the bank account and all of those other things.
Yeah.
While for the buying processes, it's a much, much longer relationship. We will be working for the client likely for at least 6 months, often more. And our packages are also designed in that way. So our smaller package for buying is the decided package that covers one region. So this is not a city, it's like the whole region thing, and has a service duration of 6 months. And then the Wanderer package that allows people to explore multiple locations also has 2 tours and allows the person to work with multiple agents. It also includes support for renovations and complex projects, and has a service duration predicted of up to 2 years, up to 1 year. So it's a lot more complex, a lot more. Yeah, I'm losing
Complex and far-reaching. I get
Yeah.
it. But basically something for everybody. Most
Yeah,
kinds of needs and interests in Portugal. You were working also with investors. That was a very interesting side of your business in the last, I think, year or two. Are
yeah.
you
I've
still?
had some investors. Those processes are definitely not my more complex. So we have our investor package, and our investor package predicts service for at least 2 years. And it's because you can buy like a rental property or even 2 rental properties using the Wanderer pack. Our investor package is designed for more complex and longer term projects like building renovations or construction of new buildings. Those processes always take a long time. If you just want to buy like a rental a property or an Airbnb or even a property for yourself and an extra investment property, the Wanderer is enough for that. The investor is really for these big projects like full building renovations or construction. Like, for example, I have this project in Gaia that's going to be 160 apartments. But these are very slow projects. Like, I started working with this client basically when I started the company,
Mhm.
and we haven't started building yet because it's Portugal and nothing is ever fast and nothing is ever on time, and it's a pain to deal with the town hall. So that's another thing that you need to know if you're looking to invest in Portugal. You can have great numbers, but you have to be very patient, and you really have to have the ability to have your capital stalled, because things are never on time. We
Yeah.
already had a conservative estimate for this project of things taking 2 years until construction. We are currently at 2.5 years and just submitted licensing last month.
Well, you're going to be so glad when that's up and out of the ground and built. But what I mean, you make a great point there. It is a great place, a great country to invest in, but you need help this side
You need to be
of things.
patient.
And you need to learn some patience as well. And Anna can help you out with that. Fantastic. Great to speak to you as ever. And well done on coping so well with just 2 fingernails. At the beginning. How long was it until you got that sorted out? Did you have to go back?
Well, yeah, because we were like, I just put like a clear polish kind of thing, so it
Right.
wasn't too bad. And then we just put clear polish, like normal nail polish, on the other nail. So I just had then the color of the acrylic, which is kind of this pinkish color. And then I went back to finish them on Wednesday. But yeah, it was definitely kind of a weird situation.
Yeah, well, thank goodness for that. All's well that ends well here in Portugal. Thanks, Anna Caramujo of Savvy Cat Realty. Always good to talk to you, and we'll see you again next month. You take care.
Next month.
All right, bom fim de semana. Ciao, ciao.